Hi, everybody. I got back from the cabin yesterday afternoon and um, wanted to take some time to let you know a little bit more about my breast cancer story. I I was diagnosed 2 years ago and went through surgery first and then chemotherapy and then radiation. And then about 6 months ago, I had my matching surgery. So basically a reduction on the other side. And so that, in the surgeon's words, I had twins. Oh, sorry. I had sisters, not twins. Anyway, so after all of that, I was working full time at the time, and it was probably, it was after chemo. About 6 weeks after chemo, they had started me on a hormone blocker, and 6 weeks into that, I had some weird, just odd feeling. I just felt not good. I was, sick. I was, what's the word? Nauseous, headache, constant, every day. It was never better. And so they took me off of that one, and I think that one was called tamoxifen. And then they put me on a second one, and that one was anastrozole. And 6 weeks after starting that one, I had what they called aphasia, which means you can't speak. I wasn't able to verbalize my thoughts. I remember everything that happened. I felt really weird, but I couldn't communicate verbally. I mean, I could do, if you asked me to do something, I could physically do it, and I would nod my head yes or no, but I just couldn't speak. So of course, it happened while I was on the slope. So I ended up having to be medevaced off the slope and back to Anchorage. And it was like a 2-hour ambulance trip from where my camp was to where the airport is in Dead Horse. And then like an hour and a half flight on a private jet, which was, it wasn't a nice private jet. It was kind of a old 70s, well, maybe not quite that old, but definitely 80s. Smaller jet. It was filled with a bunch of crap, medical gear, stuff like that. And one odd thing is the nurse that was flying with me, she put an IV in my finger. Like, who does that? Like, why would you put it in somebody's finger? Extremely painful. But what was odd is that one lasted the longest as opposed to the one that they had put in my arm. But I got to the hospital, and the entire time from the night before when I first started feeling odd, and all the way to the next morning, getting, taking the trip in the ambulance to Dead Horse, getting put on the plane, flying on the plane. This is 12 plus hours later. I had not gone to the restroom for hours, and they were pumping me full of saline, right? So I had to pee so bad. That's all I wanted was to go to the bathroom. And my husband was at the hospital when I got there. They pulled me in, they're asking me questions, they're asking me to identify pictures and, tell me which one is this. And I'd have to point to it because I couldn't speak. Just different things. They, cognitive testing. And I finally just had enough. I was like, I have to get up. So I kept on trying to get up. My husband kept on trying to keep me in bed. I don't know if he thought I couldn't walk. I assume that's what he thought because, I hadn't walked in front of him. Finally, I just break free and get out of bed and go straight to the little toilet that's in the room. And, oh my God, it was amazing to go pee. Oh my God. That made me very, very happy and much more comfortable. So then I, got back in bed and they took me up to my room, and, I still wasn't able to communicate verbally. And I can't imagine what this, what going through all this, watching me go through all this did to my husband. I feel really bad putting him through that. Obviously, I had no control, but, on top of the cancer and the chemo and dealing with my feelings, having him have to watch me struggle to speak, thinking, oh, she's had a stroke. She's having, some sort of seizure. I just can't even imagine. I can't imagine the trauma I inflicted on him. That's my biggest regret of the whole thing, is putting him through that. But, he always would say, we're in this together. We're in this together. You're not getting rid of me. Anyway, wow, I've never cried about this. I was taken up to my room, and the nurse there was awesome. I don't remember her name. I want to say Katie, but I don't know if that's right. And she was like asking me questions, and she was like, I can see that the answer's right there. I can see it's on the tip of your tongue and you just can't get it out. And I kept nodding, yes, yes, yes. And she gave me an Ativan, which I believe is for anxiety. I wasn't feeling anxious so much. I just didn't understand why I couldn't speak. And I'd say within a half hour of taking the Ativan, it was like flipping a switch, and boom, I was back, and I could speak. I could get up and move and do whatever I wanted because I could communicate what I was doing. My husband, he was over the moon happy that I was better, and it didn't, I wasn't 100% right away. There were some lasting effects. It probably took me a few weeks before I was 80%. And I personally feel like the hormone blockers brought that on. I still feel like that was part of it. I've read a little bit about cognitive issues with the hormone blockers. There's not a lot of information that I found out there. Maybe I'm not looking in the right place, but nobody ever warned me that this could happen. And I finally was able to talk to the oncologist, and he did confirm that it can happen. So the result of this incident was I lost my job. And it was a job that I'd been working for to get. I created the job and it was two positions. So it'd be 4 people rotating. So two people were always on site. And they fired me. They ended my contract. And, that was bad. That was really difficult for me to deal with. Clearly, I'm still upset about it. Alaska is an at-will employment state. I don't really have any recourse. I actually had a dream about my former supervisor last night, which is why this has come up. And I think I'm gonna get in touch with her and just talk to her. I don't know. I'm not necessarily looking for, to get reemployed. I don't know. I guess I just want to say, hey, it's pretty shitty that that happened. And it was really surprising because throughout the whole cancer journey up until that point, my employer, well, actually, they weren't my employer. I was a contractor, but that company was extremely supportive. And, if I had to take time off for a procedure or, if I needed to rest or whatever it was, they let me do it. But I was a high performing individual, and I was oftentimes the only person who could do what I did. I trained everybody else in the department, including my supervisor at one point, and dealt with multi-million-dollar contracts. And I worked in engineering documentation, and this company was spending billions of dollars in the state of Alaska. And it was a big deal. And I really loved my job. And I really loved the people I worked with. I brought on people that I knew could do the job. And I rarely hear from any of them, which is hurtful. I know everybody's busy and they have their lives, but coming up on a year now that I was terminated, and I don't hear from them. So, I'm still trying to put those things behind me. I know that my job doesn't make me who I am, but I really put a lot of years and a lot of work, so many hours into this position, and it was just ripped out from under me. Excuse me. So, that in addition to how it made me feel, put a financial strain on my family. And my husband has been the sole breadwinner for, 9 months now. And I still kind of struggle with it a little bit. My husband says he doesn't do guilt. I do a lot of guilt. I don't know how to not feel bad when you negatively affect someone else, especially somebody that you love. I don't know how to do that. I'm trying, and he doesn't hold it against me at all. He never makes me feel bad. And he acknowledged in a card that he sent me the other day that he didn't truly comprehend how that losing that job affected me. He's an amazing man, and he's taught me a lot about love. And he's made me grateful. I never knew I could love a person like I love him. And I certainly didn't think anybody could love me the way he loves me. So I am so grateful. And he teaches me to be a kinder person. We grew up very differently. And, I had a abusive father, alcoholic father, and he abused my mother horribly. And he abused us physically, mentally, verbally, and you know, it's taken 55 years to try to work my way through that. I had to forgive him because I ended up taking care of him in his last years, and it was really, really hard, and it was really intense. But I don't regret those years. I only feel bad that my mom didn't get more than a couple of years of peace without abuse or the stress that my father caused. So both of their death anniversaries are coming up in June. My father passed away in 2004, in 2004 of basically Parkinson's, and in June, I think it was June 4th, 2004, and then my mom passed away June 7th, 2006. And that was 20 plus years from my dad ago. I still miss them. I miss them. Wow. I knew that I was kind of struggling a little bit with their anniversaries this year, which is odd because I've had anniversaries that I don't even realize it's the anniversary either until it's passed or the day of. But I think it's because, you know, I was much busier in my life. I didn't have quite as much time on my hands. And so this one's hitting a little harder. Anyway, I will end this on a positive note. Glad to be back in Anchorage. I love the cabin, but it's not mine. I mean, it's mine in that I share it with my husband. However, you know, that's his element. He loves being at the cabin, and I would much rather have running water and an oven. Well, we have an oven in there, but you know, it's the whole propane thing. But I will be coming and going throughout the season, which will not end until September. And I'm planning on taking lots of video of the landscape. It's amazing. And wildlife that we see. I go out into the park with my husband when I'm there generally, and we plan on doing lots of hikes this year. And I will video everything, you know. We're probably going to hike out to where we got married, because we got married in the park. We haven't been there for a few years since, well, the road's been closed. Long story. I won't tell you about it now. And it's going to be closed until 27, I think. Close to the public anyway. Excuse me. So a lot of things coming up. I can't wait to show you the fall colors in September. It's freaking amazing. Just amazing. And it only lasts a few days when they're at their peak, but they're well worth the wait. Pretty amazing. And hopefully we'll see lots of bears and caribou and wolves and Dall sheep. And we don't have goats here. It's the only white sheep, and they're pretty cool. Hopefully we'll get some up close. They're not just like little white dots. That's only happened once in the last 20 years that I can recall, where they were up close and personal, you know, on the road right there. Pretty amazing. Anyway, I'm looking forward to sharing that beauty with you, and I'd really like to grow my channel. So if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, and I hope you guys have a great day.